Welcome to King Jaja TV. Today we are going to continue from where we stopped last week. At another corner of the sitting room were the hoofs of an antelope and the twisted horn of a buffalo, all stained red with animal blood, and the serum of an eagle bird, which Ajimobi had kept as a relic on the rack, untouched by anybody since he died. Untouched by anybody since he died. His amulet dangled protectively on the ceiling, helping to keep danger away from the household. For instance, the torments of witches and the menace of ghosts, the mischief of evil spirits, and the affliction of wizards. There also was Ajimobi's grinding stone, firmly fixed on the ground at the foot of the shade tree behind the house. Yerimi closed her eyes briefly and imagined her man standing up from the grinding stone, holding his cutlass up the rays of the sun, as of old, peeling its sharp, glittering edge with the tip of his forefinger, ready now to go into the bush to cut firewood to warm the house on this rainy day. The muscles of Ajimobi's strong arms were massive. It was his habit to display the lamp, the admiration of Yerimi, who would stroke the lamp lovingly as many times as she had helped him down with the heavy loads of wood from his broad shoulder. Then, pretending to wipe off the line of sweat from his bare chest and the crumbs of wood over his singlet, Yerimi had had several opportunities of holding her husband's impressive biceps, and how very much she loved it. Everything kept on reminding Yerimi of her man. His name touched a deep chord in her. Ajimobi's heavy familiar voice re-echoed in Yerimi's ears. She saw his face as clearly as the image on a crystal ball. Here was Ajimobi's hunting dog pushing its strong muzzle against Yerimi's legs, hoping for a loving pat. On a number of occasions, the dog had howled all through the night, unsure of his master's location, wondering why he had to stay out so late, and summoning him home with a bellowing call. The dog was not only Ajimobi's good companion, but also his own silent shadow, probably his most important playmate in life. The presence of rats searching for cakes of salted sprat on rolled condiment inside the wooden bats also was one another quiet reminder of Ajimobi's conspicuous absence. Several times before Yerimi had watched Ajimobi capture the rats like flies between his fingers, forcing dozens of poison into their jaws and down their throats. Ajimobi had set traps for the rats, biting them with the juicy mango peels, parts of sweat-smelling locust bean seeds, and with poison locally made from tubers of cassava and the deadly root of ogongo. Ajimobi would crush all this into puffs, mix them with ash and salt to become so deliciously naughty to the rats. A deliciously naughty poison. The rat would eat them and stiffen immediately. Here now was the house rats having a field. Here now was the house rats having a field day, with nobody to check their absence, with nobody to check their advance. Yerimi watched them dug inside the grain calabashes, and hurtled across the floor to reach the soup pot. The rats leaped over the uncemented walls of Yerimi's room and started shrinking in sharp and flats. Ajmabi had always been in absolute control of his household. Ajmabi had always been in absolute control of his household, firm, at times rigid, but he could be very pleasant too, and watching him you would say, what a vivacious man. What a vivacious man. Yerimi remembered the loud voice of her husband, his strong, glad gay laughter. Whenever jokes reached the peak among his friends together, they would sit round the katembe, filled to the brim with undiluted bubbling farm wine, oozing a sweet dining sound and an aroma that made the throat click saucily and begin to gossip under the dull light of the lamp. Ajmabi and his friends would gallop like frightened giraffe in the little farm wine room full of dust and the smell of sweating bodies. It seems as if all they lived for in the world was to drink fresh farm wine. They would rent their air with fickle slogans and jibe widely to the beat of Sakara music. They felt they could do just anything. All things seemingly impossible would assail the imagination of the drunkards, and in the plate of seconds would want to fly to pull down the stars from the sky or journey to the moon with pillows and mats for a good night rest. Yerimi and other village women used to chuckle as they listened to their boastful husbands, as they always wondered why men were so superb and so magnificent, so splendid and so audacious, to be able to embark on all those impossibilities of life and perfectly achieve them. Men must be special creatures descending on this earth straight from another planet. At midnight, when the village men were done with the pleasure of fine wine drinking, Ajmabi and his friend would stagger from their wooden benches and began urinating farm wine waste on the mud walls of the village buildings. Inside the turbid village gutters, they would vomit the excesses of their monotonous bowls. Thereafter, their appetite for more wine would return in full force. More wine, they would shout as they tumbled back to their farm wine room. Let's bury our heads deeper into the aha and shake our heads jubilantly. Let's clean the milky dregs with our mosaic and drink again like thirsty camel in the desert. Drinkers are the owners of the world. We will drink farm wine with all its creamy scum and all its sweet sediment and its gleaming foam. We will drink like sieve and sponge through midnight to cockcrow. It was the habit of drunkard to make boastful promises. I will make 500 fat heaps on my farm tomorrow. By noon, before the sun reaches the center of the sky, I will carry heavy sacks of grain in one load on my head to Oede during the next market day for sale, and instantly became a millionaire in the land. This year, I will put up a 2-story building with innumerable rooms and uncountable lobbies. This year, I will put up a 2-story building with innumerable rooms and uncountable lobbies. I will peep from the building's veranda above and spit on the poor people gazing stupidly at me from below. I will snatch the leadership of this village, and after my installation as traditional head, the Bali, I will begin to acquire concubines I will begin to increase the number of my wives. I will give all of them, concubine and wives, accommodation in the rooms of my palace, and watch amused as they fight to secure my love and affection. My voice will ring loud like thunder as I shout instruction and orders, which must be obeyed to my subjects. I will tow the hard line. I will not accept any nonsense. I will blow the noses of my poise loud like the whistle. I will blow the noses of my paws loud like the whistle. Punch their faces brutally like ripe breadfruit. I will become like King Lion in the forest, all powerful and uncaring, dangerous. Ajmabi had made promises in life to which he did not wait to fulfill. He had vowed, for instance, to replace with new ones the pure rusty iron sheets through which water leaked from the roof in the season of heavy rain. But that was not to be. It was his plan to concrete the broken and dilapidated veranda of the house with gravel and cement. He had resolved to put a stop to the menace of termites invading the door frame and eliminate the red ant chewing the window panes of Yerimi's room. It was Ajmabi's intention to repair the old garden panes, and which goats were constantly breaking into. He had promised to build a yam barn on his farm, placing strong branches of trees which forked tops squarely in the ground, slanting them to meet the ground in a rough triangle, and then storing fat yam tubers into the rice enclosure covered with wattle and daubed in mud. Ajmabi had planned to cut down the big orange tree in the garden upon which strange yellow bird once perched, wailing all through the night. It was his ambition to extend the Yamud house by 2 rooms, plaster the 2 rooms, and marry a new wife. He wanted a common room to link the 2 rooms from where he would stay during nocturnal visit, to decide on which of the wife's apartment to enter, Yerimi's or the new wife. He had told himself he would prefer to enter the room of the new wife for a drink of sweet new wine. A new wife is like an undiluted wine. Ajmabi used to say, refreshing and intoxicating. She is a precious gold, outshining just all silver and diamond. You have a senior wives at home. Let silver and diamond go into hidden whenever beautiful gold appears. I won't touch silver, and I will have nothing to do with diamond. When gold wait patiently for me, a warm embrace right there on a new oil mat. The day a new wife arrives in my house, I will be a day to remember. The day a new wife arrives in my home will be a day to remember. A day of felicitation, and great rejoicing. I will take my bath 5 times that day and apply heavy perfume to my body. I will be sparsely clad in readiness of the nuptial battle, a battle I must fight and win, waving a white handkerchief triumphantly to the anxious crowd. A new wife is a polished drum to be caressed with the finger of a man's hands, providing for the man a melodious music to dance. She is freshly lily floating of the waters of a lake, reaching down into the deep humus soil. Touch her even once, and she ripened with new fruit like the banana tree on the river bank. She is the joy of my man's heart. She is the joy of a man's heart. Her presence at home called for celebration, with gongs and rattles, with gods and shout of joys. The end of chapter 6. Don't forget to subscribe Kinjaja TV for the remaining chapters. Happy listening.